Diversity means people from different backgrounds, economic backgrounds, cultural, from various countries, from all over the planet.
Our profession is enriched by the inclusion of other people in terms of their attitudes, in terms of what they bring to the community.
Diversity is a very important thing, not only for the architectural profession, but just in general. I think it's important to have diverse perspectives on really anything. If you want valuable takeaways, I think that multiple voices need to be heard.
I include in the diversity area both access to the profession for minority and for women who are underrepresented in the profession for a very long time.
I think there's always going to be value that women are part of the traditional practice of architecture and are practicing as architects and leading architecture firms and leading design teams and executing great work around the world.
Here, the teamwork and collaboration is a key point, and work is done in a team internally, which is a little bit different in Russia. You can see more collaboration here, and each team member has a voice and has something to offer.
My sister and myself are now the owners of the practice, so we have 100% woman-owned business. So we try and make history and strides, but we also want to make certain that we're not the only ones, and that legacy will continue for other women and other ethnic minorities.
And I said, if I come here, I've walked through the studios, I see you do a lot of wonderful work, see a lot of collaboration, but I said, there's nobody here that looks like me. I said, for me to come here, I would need to be able to be empowered to be able to hire more people who look like me. And he said, that'd be wonderful.
The one thing I can say about the American Institute of Architects is they have opened up opportunities for me to participate. It is not done without good people like Jean Barber and like Margot Rose, who collaborated with us and who also helped see a vision of what the Institute can be. The Institute is a wonderful institution for advocacy and change, and I see it as a continued means to collaborate.
When we come together and we go across the borders that are set up, we become better educated and richer, and these communities can really make things change. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned about the power of NOMA, the power of the AIA, is to change things through the communities that are diverse, that have hopes and visions for the future.
It's very important that the national presence of architects include vital minority participants as well. And that has been a tremendous change in the last many years.
My first involvement with AI diversity began with the Minorities Resource Committee. I believe it was 1994, and it was a very, very rewarding experience. And what prompted my participation was the fact that there were very few African Americans in practice throughout America. And I saw that as a challenge, had thoughts of building my own firm, and was very, very challenged with finding people of color to work with me.
I've been, for decades now, I guess, involved and committed to trying to diversify our profession in the Institute because it's sorely lacking, particularly in African American representation.
I worked in a middle school that just recently got completed on the south side of Chicago near Midway Airport. And that was really the most rewarding part of my professional career so far, in terms of that I was doing something that I knew was going to help a community of children, and actually mostly minority Hispanic children in that neighborhood. And it was a project that's going to help people generations on.
One of the priorities that I've been a part of, both in a leadership role and a participatory role, has been working with people who cared about bringing a deeper, more robust and caring diversity into play, really to create a better quality of life and well-being.
And what evolved from that in probably the late 80s or maybe the mid 80s was the diversity conferences, which went on for 4 or 5 years. And that was great because we had people of all backgrounds, religions, races, genders, etc., participating in forums about architecture. And then that faded away. So it seems that here we are again with the new age, the new opportunities. There are many more people from diverse backgrounds in the profession and in the AIA, and a lot of renewed energy on this topic, and I'm glad to still be part of it.
There are more minority participants at the AIA conventions now. It's a lot more welcoming of minorities, I believe, at those conventions. More speakers are of women and minorities, so it's a different experience now.
I think what was important for me was that we were able to recognize the work of African American architects and to celebrate their contributions. That was really what was key and important for me. And I think that that involvement, the exposure that was garnered, paved the way for our first African American president of AIA, Marshall Purnell, FAIA, which we all took great pride in seeing him elevated to that level of our national chapter.
It was my responsibility to help to create architecture really in a look of more of what the society is. So when I was hired into a firm actually in Portland, one of the first things I said to the principal I was working for, I said, you know, how can we get more people in here who look like me? And so that was kind of my journey to really start to begin to really work with students and young people to get them into architecture.
We professionals point the way toward a different future. It has changed significantly from 1990 to now. We see black firms, for example, that are top design firms winning national competitions, doing fantastic work, being offered opportunities that were not there before. Those are great strides.
Also what I've been involved in that is run by used to be run by the AIA, and I think stopped for a while and came back in Philadelphia was the Architecture and Education program, where they get professionals and design students and they bring them into the Philadelphia schools and kind of just do either an after-school program or once a week come in and do just into the classroom and teach kids about design and just kind of introduce them to architecture.
They do outreach. They go to public schools around Chicago and teach people, you know, what an architect does, and actually tailor their presentations to whatever is being taught at the school at any given time.
So what we want to do is stop the disparity and to catch our profession up with those of other professions where the gap has been closing. We don't want to have glass ceilings. We want to open the ceilings.
Just get the word out to youth who are potentially going into careers in architecture, and just support system for those who are currently in the field of architecture.
I'm really interested in increasing the amount of diversity in faculty as well as graduate students. Right now there's just such a small number of Black and Hispanic Americans enrolled in grad school.
There is a sense of vigor and mentorship and role models in an expanding way in every region, and that needs to grow more.
So I know that students need Black professionals, students need women, students need Latino architects in order to be able to conceive of themselves as becoming part of the profession in the way that we want them to and in the way that we hope they will be.
So our constantly working to mentor younger women in the profession. It's just a personal goal of mine to make sure that there's a legacy and more people are getting in the field.
Most NOMA members are members of AIA, so it's almost, you know, sort of it's a very close relationship. I think that as time goes on and NOMA gets more involved, you know, with a lot of the policies that the AIA is promoting, then, you know, I think that you know, the AIA will have a greater stance on diversity, greater approaches to promoting diversity in the profession.
The two organizations have definitely grown are growing together to promote diversity. We're trying to, NOMA's goal is to increase the number of licensed African American architects, and AIA Diversity Committee has been just a great supporter of us.
Where I am today, really because of Women in Design Kansas City. It's a committee under AIA.
If you're in a position as a firm leader or a manager to bring people in from diverse backgrounds, I encourage everyone to take the opportunity to recruit from someplace they may not think about recruiting, to hire young people they may not think about hiring, to break out of some of our traditional ways of seeking members of our profession, which is to look beyond our traditional social networks, look beyond our own alumni associations and those connections that we're very familiar with, and to step outside of your boundaries and try something new.
I think I've been in both camps. I want to see progress for women, and I think, in some cases there may have been a little bit more, but I also want to see progress in terms of what happens to black folks who decide one day they have to become architects. And I think we're still not yet there, but I think that at least there is some progress, and that we take advantage of what we get and we try to build on the progress that we have.
We as architects are supposed to be the ones who recreate, who imagine, who invent, and who are the out-of-the-box thinkers.
I'd really love to see an increased diversity in school, in the practice, because that only helps us to keep a creative field and keep things going.
I think there's so much opportunity for us. A diverse perspective can only improve our work, and so these kind of conversations that we have at the summit are very important in making sure we all know that we're all moving forward with this, and we should encourage each other to stay in architecture and to keep affecting the built environment through our work and through our connections in order to move all of our design work and move the world into a better place.